Hey everyone. I know you're probably like glued to the news right now with this election and everything. The markets are all over the place, and I bet you're wondering how it's all going to affect your investments, especially Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to unpack all of that today right here.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, first off, we've got this crazy tight race in Minnesota, which is usually a safe bet for the Democrats, but not this time around. So we'll look at what that means for the country and, of course, what it means for your money.
Right.
Then we're going to dive into how Elon Musk and
Hmm.
Trump are shaking things up in the markets with their whole thing.
Yeah, their whole thing.
And finally, we'll tackle the big question. Is Bitcoin's surge just a temporary bump from the election, or is something bigger going on?
You know what I'm finding really fascinating is how politics and investing, especially with crypto, are just so intertwined these days.
Yeah, it's like you can't talk about one without the other.
Exactly.
All right, let's start with Minnesota. They haven't voted Republican in a presidential election since Nixon, way back in '72. But the latest polls show Harris and Trump in a dead heat.
Neck and neck.
What's happening there, and why should investors care?
Well, the sources we've looked at are pointing to a couple of things: economic anxieties and immigration concerns, and these seem to be pushing some voters towards Trump.
So it's like a sign of the times.
Yeah, exactly. And if this historically blue state flips red,
Oh, man.
it could mean a much bigger shift is happening across the country, and that kind of uncertainty, that's what spooks investors.
Right, because they don't know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly.
So Minnesota's race could be a preview of what's to come nationwide, but how does this actually play out in the markets?
Well, think of it this way: the markets hate surprises.
And like predictability.
Yeah, exactly. A close election throws everyone's predictions off, and that creates volatility.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially if it comes down to a few swing states like Minnesota, we could see some major swings in the stock market.
So buckle up, everybody.
Yeah, fasten your seatbelts.
But let's get specific. How could this impact someone's investment decisions, like right now, in the coming weeks?
Okay, so if you're someone who likes to make quick trades, short term, this volatility might actually be a good thing for you,
Oh, interesting.
but it's definitely riskier.
Yeah, high risk, high reward.
Exactly. But for long-term investors, my advice would be to stay the course.
Don't panic.
Exactly, ride out the storm, because remember, your portfolio, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's some good advice. Okay, let's move on to Bitcoin. It's been on a tear lately, almost hitting its all-time high.
It's been crazy.
Is this just a coincidence, or is there something going on with the election?
Oh, it's definitely tied to the election.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, Trump is seen as the more crypto-friendly candidate. So as his poll numbers go up, Bitcoin seems to be getting a boost.
Interesting. So some people are thinking, if Trump wins, we'll see policies that are good for cryptocurrencies.
Exactly.
But is that the whole story? It can't just be the election, right?
Oh, there's definitely more to it than just that. We're seeing a bunch of things happening all at once. Aside from the election, you've got these big institutional investors, like hedge funds and asset managers. They're starting to see Bitcoin as a legitimate asset.
So it's not just the little guy anymore.
No, not at all. Some see it as a way to protect themselves against inflation. Others are just attracted to its potential for growth. So this suggests there's a more fundamental reason for Bitcoin's rise. It's not just about the election.
So even if the election doesn't go the way some Bitcoin fans are hoping, this trend of big institutions getting involved could still push the price up.
That's right.
Okay, so let's say I'm thinking about buying Bitcoin. Is now a good time? Or should I wait until after the election is over and things settle down?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to time the market is super difficult.
Yeah.
There are good arguments for both sides. I mean, if you believe in Bitcoin long term and you're okay with the fact that it can be really volatile, then yeah, now might be a good time to buy. But if you don't like risk as much, it might be smarter to wait and see what happens after the election.
So it really depends on your risk tolerance and what your goals are.
Exactly. But it's definitely worth noting that these big players are getting involved. That's a big deal.
Okay, so we've talked about Minnesota, we've talked about Bitcoin. Now let's talk about someone who's had a huge impact on both politics and the markets, Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with, especially in the tech and crypto world.
Right. His tweets, his announcements, they can send markets soaring or plummeting.
Totally unpredictable sometimes.
Remember what happened with Dogecoin when he tweeted about that?
Oh yeah, that was wild.
I mean, that was a prime example of how social media and these big personalities can really influence investors.
It's incredible, really, how much power individuals can have these days. It's almost scary.
All right, so what should investors take away from this whole Elon Musk situation?
Well, I think it means you have to start paying attention to these big personalities like Elon Musk.
So it's not just about the numbers anymore.
Right, you got to factor in the human element.
Okay, so Elon Musk definitely keeps things interesting. But let's move on to another big personality who's been making waves in both the political and financial world, Donald Trump.
Ah, yes. Trump's back in the game, and he's shaking things up as usual. And his business ventures, especially Trump Media, they're super intertwined with his political comeback.
Speaking of Trump Media, their shares just dropped like 20% after a three-day rally.
Yeah.
What's going on there, and how's it connected to Trump's return to politics?
It seems like the market is reacting to everything that's happening politically. When Trump's doing well, the stock goes up. When he hits a snag, the stock drops. It's pretty straightforward.
So basically, investors are putting their money on Trump himself, not necessarily on Trump Media as a company.
That's a good way to put it.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Trump could actually sell his shares in Trump Media now, but he's saying he won't.
He said that publicly.
Yeah, so what's the message there?
It's a bold move, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Some people might see it as a sign that he really believes in Trump Media long term.
Right, he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Exactly. Others might think he's just trying to calm down investors who are worried about all the ups and downs.
Yeah, because it's been a roller coaster.
Totally. But at the end of the day, it shows that investing in companies that are closely tied to political figures comes with a unique set of risks and rewards.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's take a breather and recap what we've learned so far.
So we've seen how the tight race in Minnesota is a sign of how uncertain this election is and how that uncertainty can make the markets go haywire.
Yeah, it's a nail-biter.
We've also seen how Elon Musk and Donald Trump can really move the markets just by what they say and do.
It's like they have their own gravitational pull.
Exactly. And we talked about Bitcoin's recent surge and how it's not just about the election, but also about these big institutions getting involved.
So stay tuned as we continue to unpack all of this and figure out what it means for you and your investments.
We'll be right back.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what's happening here in the U.S., but Bitcoin is a global thing, right?
Yeah.
So what about trends and events happening in other parts of the world? How do those impact Bitcoin's price? And what should investors be keeping an eye on?
You're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in what's happening in our own backyard. But Bitcoin, it doesn't care about borders. It's all about global adoption and technology.
Yeah.
And what's happening in Europe and Asia with regulations and new developments, that can have a huge impact on the market.
So even though everyone's focused on the election here, investors need to be looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Are there any examples from what we've been looking at that really highlight this?
Yeah, actually, there's this really interesting case with Binance, one of the world's largest crypto exchanges.
Oh, yeah, I heard of them.
So one of their top executives was recently detained in Nigeria.
Nigeria. Wow.
Yeah, they're facing accusations of money laundering and licensing issues.
That's pretty serious.
It is, and it shows you how global this whole thing is. I mean, Nigeria, that's a long way from Binance's headquarters.
Yeah, no kidding. So what happened?
Well, eventually the executive was released on humanitarian grounds. And get this, President Biden actually thanked the Nigerian president for letting him come back to the U.S. for medical treatment.
Wow, that's some high-level intervention. You don't see that every day in the crypto world.
Nope. It shows you that governments are paying attention, even on an individual level.
Yeah, they're not messing around.
And for investors, it means you have to stay informed about what's happening with regulations in different countries. It's not just about the U.S. anymore.
It's a good reminder that investing in crypto, especially on these global exchanges, it comes with its own set of risks.
For sure.
Speaking of risks and rewards, I read something about Florida thinking about putting some of its retirement money into crypto.
Oh, yeah. Florida's chief financial officer, Jimmy Patronis, he's suggesting they allocate a portion of their retirement funds to crypto, specifically Bitcoin. He thinks it could be a good way to diversify the state's portfolio and hedge against inflation.
That's a bold move. Bitcoin can be pretty volatile. Aren't retirement funds supposed to be, like, safe and stable?
Traditionally, yeah. But Patronis is arguing that putting a small amount into crypto could lead to really big returns in the long run.
So he's thinking long-term.
Exactly. And he also pointed out that other states like Michigan and Wisconsin, they've already started investing their pension funds in crypto.
So Florida might be jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, it seems like it.
What would happen to the crypto market if a big state like Florida really embraced crypto like this?
It would be a big deal. It would give crypto more legitimacy in the eyes of traditional investors and could lead to even more people getting involved.
So it's like a domino effect.
Exactly. We've got all these global trends, regulatory challenges, and now even state governments getting into crypto. The world of finance is definitely getting more complex and interconnected.
And for investors, that means staying informed and being able to adapt is more important than ever.
Okay.
All right, so we've talked about elections, Bitcoin, Elon Musk, Trump global trends, even state retirement funds getting in on the crypto action. It's a lot to process. What are the big takeaways here for investors trying to make sense of it all?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we're seeing politics, technology, and finance all coming together like never before. They're all mixed up, and you have to understand how they all work together if you want to make good investment decisions.
It's like the old rules don't apply anymore.
Yeah.
So how can investors adapt to this new reality?
First of all, don't panic. It's normal for the market to be volatile, especially when things are uncertain. Just focus on your long-term goals and don't let the day-to-day ups and downs throw you off course.
That's good advice. But how can investors avoid getting caught up in all the hype? With things like meme stocks and all the stuff that trends on social media.
You have to learn to think for yourself and be critical of the information you're seeing. Don't just follow the crowd or base your decisions on what's popular online. Do your own research, understand what you're investing in, and be careful of those get-rich-quick schemes.
So basically be an informed investor, not just someone who reacts to whatever they see online.
Exactly. And remember, diversification is key. Spreading your investments across different types of assets can help protect you from big losses. That means having a mix of stocks, bonds, real estate, and maybe even some alternative investments like cryptocurrencies or precious metals.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right,
Right.
right. That's always good advice. But it's especially important now with the market being so unpredictable. And as we've seen with crypto and the metaverse, you have to be open to new opportunities. Don't be afraid to explore new technologies and investment trends, but always do your research and understand the risks before you jump in.
So it's all about finding that balance between staying informed, being open to new things, and not getting carried away by the hype.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one last thing, don't be afraid to ask for help from an expert, whether it's a financial advisor, a tax professional, or even just a friend or colleague who knows a lot about investing. Getting a second opinion and some guidance can be really helpful.
It's like having a team of experts in your corner to help you navigate all the complicated stuff.
Exactly. Remember, investing is a journey, not a destination. There will be good times and bad times, but if you stay informed, are willing to adapt and ask for help when you need it, you can overcome those challenges and reach your financial goals.
That's great advice. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
The most important thing is to realize that we're living in a time of incredible change and opportunity in the financial world. Embrace the challenge, stay curious, and never stop learning. The future of finance is being created right now, and those who are actively involved and stay informed will be the ones who shape it.
That's a powerful message. Embrace the change, stay curious, and never stop learning. I love it. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey as we explore how politics, technology, and global trends are shaping the future of finance.
It's been my pleasure.
And remember, knowledge is power. By staying informed and engaged, you can make smart investment decisions and navigate this exciting, ever-changing world with confidence. Until next time, happy investing.